Welcome to Level Up Chip's Battle for Middle-earth 2, Rise of the Witch King. Hello everybody and welcome to Level Up Chips. I usually have an intro type of thing, but here we are talking about Elden Ring. I have with me host Max Logan, and I also have the guest host, Michael Livingston, who's my boss. I always like to mention that, honestly.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, he's my boss. So.
You can't make any mistakes.
No, I cannot. So here we are. We also have to worry maybe a little bit about spoilers for Elden Ring for you.
I suppose, yeah. If as long as we keep it to like gameplay and just how much fun we're having, like I can get on that, but I don't know. I've seen a couple videos on YouTube that have, spoiled bosses that are ahead of me, but I'm pretty good to talk about whatever.
Okay, good. Yeah. I think I understand. You're in Liurnia Lakes?
Yes. This is the gravity of this game. I have played it for probably 60 hours, and I have not even gotten past Liurnia of the Lakes because I'm a completionist. I have to find everything. I have to fight every enemy. I have to fight every boss. I'm the type of person to look up a walkthrough and be like, did I miss anything? Because I got to go do that before I move on to the next phase.
Right.
I just got to ask, right now in the lakes, have you gotten to the middle, the big dungeon?
Yeah, the legacy dungeon.
I have not. No, my only legacy so far has been Stormvale.
Yeah, Stormvale is...
It's a good first impression for the dungeons.
I feel like in terms of what we can just talk about that, I wouldn't say is spoilery, but fair warning to anybody, is just all of Limgrave. I feel like once we get out of Limgrave, we're going to have to tread carefully about what's being said.
Sure.
But Limgrave, I think, is that first area that anybody's seen and everybody can talk about.
It was available for network tests too and everything like that.
So yeah.
Can we just say right off the bat, this game exceeds expectations. It blows them out of the water. Oh my god.
Absolutely amazing what From Software has done with this game in general, because the range that they've had before is very small. I'd say, again, their largest is probably Sekiro.
Yeah.
And even then, that is nothing in comparison to what they have here.
Right. Yeah, definitely. What was it? Yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be just like Dark Souls, but, it's big. Well, yeah, it does share a lot of gameplay elements, but for the most part, it's its own thing, and I really like that.
Yeah, I originally thought that too, because of course it has, even sound design is very similar, but it really is a culmination of everything From Software has given us so far, calling back to the aesthetic of Dark Souls, but, not even neglecting, the sad forgotten child of Dark Souls 2 with the return of, power stancing and different gameplay mechanics that a lot of people had cherished. And then later you get some of the aesthetic choices from Bloodborne, and then you get the invisible stance meter from Sekiro, bringing back the sort of fast-paced combat that it wants you to do. But of course you can hide behind a shield like the classic days. It's so much.
And speaking of shields, actually with the update that just came out yesterday, shields have actually been buffed, so they are much more feasible in your set.
Right, yeah. It made it so that guard boost is higher on all of them. So, you can take more hits on the shield without your stamina running out.
Sure.
But also they made the turtle shield less overpowered, because before it had 100% physical resistance, and now it has 87.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's honestly really fair. I remember seeing people fighting this one boss that is in the very, very end game part. It's all optional, and they fought him, was it level 1? Just the turtle shield and some other weapons, and that turtle shield, there is a certain attack that is very undodgeable, it feels like.
Yeah.
Just very difficult, and if you're level 1, you're kind of screwed. and that turtle shield saved everybody. I'm curious to see what the strategies will be now, taking that it's gotten nerfed.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to see what they do.
Right.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think my favorite thing when it comes to all the From Software games, the one aesthetic that I love is still Bloodborne. I think that in terms of aesthetic, the entire game is beautiful.
Yeah.
But
It's probably the most unique.
one of the most unique. And I'd say the place that they do have that shares a lot of Bloodborne vibes. I saw this one tweet where someone was talking about how all their friends are playing it and they did not want to say the names of places. They just kind of gave very vague descriptions, and I think that's the best way to do this right now. The red zone.
I know what you're talking about. It starts with a C.
The red zone is very fun and it is very terrifying.
Especially when you get teleported there in the first hour of gameplay by a chest.
I was told before that, what was it? There was, I think we could all just say this, but yeah, the Twin Blade is in the Dragonburnt Ruins, right?
Yes.
So I went there. I was like, oh, cool. It must be in this chest. And I opened it. On my first playthrough, honestly, I saw the puff of smoke come out, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a trap. I walked away from it, and the curiosity got the better of me. I was like, maybe I'll just stand in it, and then.
Yeah.
I remember the very first hour, like, I kid you not, I got out of the tutorial area, I went up the elevator, I got to that first grace where the guy's like, oh, you're maidenless. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
No maidens?
No maidens. And I was like, okay. And I left that site of grace, immediately went to the Dragonburnt Ruins. Like, I kid you not, just immediately went there, didn't alert the dragon, and I found the treasure chest. And I opened it. I was like, ooh, it transported me somewhere. Ooh, this should be really exciting. And that's when my brother, who was up at 4 o'clock because he's in Japan, 4 a.m., he was like, hey, could I watch your screen voice chat? I was like, yeah, sure. And he said, where are you? And I said, I don't know. And he's like, well, why don't you try coming out? And it was the mines, the crystal tunnel.
Yeah.
And there were those people that just kept killing me instantly.
Oh
I'm like,
God.
okay, so I'm definitely not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, why don't I just teleport out? I can't teleport.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What is happening? And my brother's like, oh my God, are you gonna have to restart? I was like, no, I'll find a site of grace. And I ran everywhere, just dodged everything. I found the site of grace, and I was like, this is a red zone. What is happening here? I had no idea. And I was like, that's another place I'll have to figure out. And that's when my brother said, you haven't even gotten your horse yet, haven't you? And I said, no.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I walked out of the tunnel and I saw the red water. I was like, "That's a poison swamp, isn't it?" And I was like, "Okay, time to leave. I'm not doing this yet."
I'm not welcomed here.
No. Can we do this? How about we break down each other's first run through builds? Because I know you guys have probably finished it, but what was your first build you were going for?
Go ahead.
My build was tank.
Yes.
I went with extreme vigor with health. I had a little bit in endurance, but most of it was in strength and dexterity. And I was kind of unstoppable for most of my game. It was I know that people say mage is easy mode. I'm over here like I'm dual wielding great axes. Godric's great axe in one hand and another great axe in the other.
Yeah.
Completely maxed out. Have some of the strongest armor that you could possibly get. Nobody could stop me. I went in PvP all the time like, hey, check this out. And I would do all sorts of moves and they just ran away from me.
That's awesome.
So my first one, that's kind of defunct now. I tried doing like a dexterity thing. I started with the samurai. I realized I didn't really like it too much, so I deleted that one. And then I started doing a faith playthrough with the confessor.
Okay.
And now it's just mainly, what is it, like health, because you'll need a lot of that. The soft cap's like 60 in this game.
Yeah.
And then I have a lot in faith, obviously, and then some in strength, and that's about it, honestly.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I started as a confessor, and whenever I play like a Souls-like game, I try to be like a Swiss Army knife on my first playthrough. Like enough faith in Arcane to cast like some entry level spells if I need it, but also enough dex to equip a crossbow and enough strength to use a greatsword if I need to. So
And it is really nice that very early on, I'll just label this as a spoiler just in case anybody gets mad at me, you know.
Right.
I was very happy that pretty early on you can respec at some point, just because, and you were able to get quite a few like
Respec
time.
items.
Yeah, respec items. I was at some point like, oh, I have 10 like items, so I can just respec 10 different times. Why not?
yeah,
And it was perfect because later on you'll probably see some really great spells.
yeah,
So many of them, you will see the requirements for some of the attributes and you'll say, what? How am I supposed to do this? It's very helpful being able to do this and say, why don't I try doing this insane magic ability? And you'll see it, and they can be way too OP. Some of them are really fun.
yeah.
In fact, they just buffed magic.
Yeah. See, that's what I don't want to do that, because I remember when it first launched in the first week that you could see countless YouTube videos how to become OP in the first 10 minutes of playing, you know? Like, that's not how I want to engage the game. Like, I really want to sort of take my time, play it how I want to play it, put the emphasis on exploring rather than getting to a point where I could just kill anything with one hit, you know? That's kind of where I'm at with it.
And I have beaten Elden Ring. I'm the only one, I think. Here
Right,
that
I'm
has-
super close to beating it.
He is. I'm the only one who has beaten it. And I am 3 trophies away from getting the platinum on this. So I've beaten every boss. And I was really happy with the way that I did things of not really looking at walkthroughs. The only time I ever did that was at the end game where I was like, okay, I don't want to do these trophies about like get the legendary talisman and stuff like that. I just want to know where they are and I want to get that trophy. I'm good. I want to find this boss because I don't know where that is.
Right.
And doing that, just doing a basic run through and being like, I know I'm at the final boss. I don't want to go through like any of the stuff walkthrough wise until that final boss. It felt fantastic.
Yeah.
Not knowing a single thing about that game.
Now
and
this
going in.
this isn't really spoilery, but I have a question. Do you New Game Plus in this game, or do you have to start over completely?
No, there
New
is
Game
a New
Plus.
Game Plus,
Okay, good.
which
It's-
is fantastic.
And it's like every game that isn't, what is it, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, and Bloodborne. They give you the option after you beat the game to go into New Game Plus instead of just throwing you into it.
That was definitely the thing that I was very shocked by. Even if you fight the final boss and you
Get the
choose
ending.
one of the endings, they will say, hey, do you want to start this or do you want to keep exploring? I was shocked because as soon as I did the ending, I'm like, this is it. I am going into New Game Plus. And they said, no, you don't have to.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was really neat. At the moment, I think I level 150 on my first person.
That's cool.
And I think a lot of people are saying that's the meta
Yeah.
level that people might be going for, if not 125. And I'm saving that one for anything if they ever do DLC. I don't think they are.
Really?
But a
Yeah.
lot of people are saying, oh, you never know. I'm like, well, I don't know. So I'm just going to keep...
I don't know. That is a good question. Like, so the From Software series has always put an emphasis on DLC. Ever since Dark Souls 1, and I know a lot of people would love to see that. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Like, imagine a whole new area to explore, you know?
And that's the one interesting thing. There's a certain character that's talked about a lot for certain later bosses, and you get to see that person, but they're not in a form that you fight or anything like that. And you just see that, and you're like, okay. And I looked it up. I was like, is there anything to do with this person? They said, nope, nothing. More than likely, DLC. I said, sure, that makes sense. At the same time, it's such a big game. It makes you wonder, what is the DLC going to look like? Is that going to take 2 years to finally be made? or
I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah.
I'm excited because more than likely they're going to see the feedback of Elden Ring, all the memes, everything, and say, okay, here you guys go. Kind of like the Old Hunter, is that
Oh yeah.
We're the old hunters.
the
Yep.
Old Hunters? That was my favorite DLC I think I've ever played.
Yeah, I have to agree.
That one was just beautiful in its own way, especially the beginning area, and I want that for this DLC. I really want them to get that open world, but make it smaller, condensed, but still have that same feeling of exploration that we got in Limgrave.
Yeah. I have a question because the last time I was on here, we just talked about sort of Souls in general.
Right.
But Mike, you played Dark Souls 1 before you played Elden Ring.
Yep.
And now that you've finished Elden Ring, you're obsessed with it. Does it inspire you to go back and play more Souls games?
Oh, definitely. In fact, what was it? I started my Souls trek back in December, like maybe end of November with Max and Nate when I decided to do a playthrough of Bloodborne.
Yeah.
That was my first ever one that I beat. Played through the DLC, got the secret ending, loved it, absolutely adored it. Went right to Sekiro, which was insanely difficult, and then I went over to
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls 1
Yep.
and beat that, and then I went into Dark Souls 3, got maybe about a third of the way through, and then
Elden Ring
Ring came out.
released. Yeah.
and I was obsessed with that game. And now I'm thinking about going through Dark Souls 3, but it's one of those things that a lot of people have been saying, I went back to those games, it's hard to go back.
I imagine it would be. Yeah.
Just because they went into the beginning area of Dark Souls 3, you know, the Dragon Keep.
Yeah. High wall. Yep.
Yeah, and you know you're having a good time. They're like, all right, and I'm gonna press X to jump. No,
Yep.
no, you can't do this to me. It felt terrible for them.
Yeah. The freedom that they have given us in Elden Ring is just like, I don't know, like I feel spoiled almost. you
Oh,
know?
totally. This game gives you so much freedom in a way that I've never seen in a game in a long time.
Yeah. And the fact that it just looks beautiful too is nice.
Yeah.
What's your guys' favorite areas in the game?
I still have to say Red Zone.
Yeah.
Red Zone is my favorite.
I like. You haven't gotten there yet. I don't know if I should say it.
You can say, I mean, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say again, major spoiler warning. I think we're about to get into some stuff that might get some people to, you know.
I like the Royal Capital. Yeah, Lindell.
Lindell is neat, and there's a certain point where they do something with Lindell that kind of changes it, and it's really neat looking.
Yeah.
There's something about it that gives me major Dark Souls 3 vibes with all the ashes and everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's stuff like that where, and again, I already said spoilers warning for anything. Max, you don't have to start.
Yeah, my favorite area, I mean, we discovered the Siofra river well around the same
the
time.
underground area.
And that's
Oh
just
my gosh.
beautiful.
Everybody has that same reaction every time they see the well. They're like, "Oh, elevator!" You go down,
It's like 1 minute elevator. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh.
and I think the best part is the fact that that minute elevator, they aren't going slow.
No.
It's going fast.
Yeah,
and
you're
like,
going to the center of the earth.
exactly, and you're like, "What is going on?"
That's what's just so great about Souls is like just when you think there's enough, there's always more.
Yep.
And I think one of the best parts is, I remember when I went into the well, I saw the Starry Night on the ceiling, and I love the fact that you can see the ceiling, and you're like, I can see some of the stalactites
Yeah.
just on top. You can see it slightly in that Starry Night, and you also see some of the like huge buildings from so far away, and I legit saw that. I was like, okay, so what? That's a JPEG of some building in a skybox.
No, you go
Big
there.
whoop.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was
Yeah.
like, wouldn't that be cool if that was like a DLC area? No, that's just part of the game.
Though honestly, if I'm thinking about what you're talking about, that does seem like maybe it would be a DLC area. Like, it seems like it. Considering the means you have to do, like the means you have to go to actually get there?
Yes, there is in that area. That's where the DLC part was kind of hinted at.
Yeah,
Almost.
exactly.
And that's where I'm really excited. Again, they have so many different endings, and I'm kind of shocked by it because there's 6 different ones.
Really?
Yeah, but they only allow for 3 of them to be achievements.
Oh.
I think, yeah, about I think a few of them are like variations on the same one, but they're different endings.
Yeah, basically the 3 categories that they have, I'd say, is neutral ending, which is kind of like the base game, what they tell you to do.
Become Elden Lord.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just that kind of, basic, like, oh, you did it, good job. Then you have the good ending, which is very long. Very,
you
very,
have to
very
do a
long.
quest, right?
And then you have the bad endings, which can be very fun to see.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like Sekiro, where you can end the game early by doing the bad endings.
Yeah. And I'm hoping for my 3rd run through that I do the bad ending, just say, all right, cut it short. Just give me the bad ending. Just
Give me the
finish
trophy.
it. Just give me the platinum for doing some really bad job.
I don't know, after talking about this with other people, how they can one up after this. Like,
Oh,
is
yeah,
this
how
like,
could they improve?
like is this the roof? Like, is this the
Peak?
the peak of gaming?
Well,
Like,
and-
I don't know.
And that's the thing, everybody's talking about, and I don't know. Honest to God, they could make a sequel to Bloodborne where it has maybe a larger map like Sekiro.
That would be nice.
That'd be great. I think that having something where it's just much larger scale, it still has that same feeling of uneasiness, because I think that Dark Souls, there's something about it where even though there were some creepy parts, like, hell, basically, it was like, oh, but it's still kind of that, like, neat adventure where you're like, yeah, cool, I found a cool area and it's beautiful. Bloodborne had that vibe of, I'm in a place and I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
It always felt like you were unwelcome in the worst ways imaginable.
I mean, to be fair, the first area, you got those guys wandering around yelling about killing you and how you're not welcome, and
Yeah. Basically.
And then you have the Forbidden Woods where it's just snakes.
snakes. Yep.
Literally, I found a meme where it's like Forbidden Woods map and
It's just normal, and
trees and then snakes.
Yeah. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even discount the possibility of a Bloodborne sequel, which is kind of what we've been asking for years. So.
Yep.
I think that the next step that they really have is, that was, Elden Ring is more of Dark Souls with a hint of all the other games in there. But for the most part, people are like, no, it's Dark Souls open world.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
the best way to describe it to people.
Yeah.
And I think that if they decided to go any direction later, it's to get all the ones that they have right now, like Bloodborne and Sekiro, get those types of ideas, those aesthetics, and make them open world with a hint of some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
They
Right.
basically just have to go through their color palette and go full circle until they're like, okay, now we need a new IP. And they are going to have to go through a lot of different segments. They can't just go full circle and then go to IPs. They're going to have to do it slowly but surely. Just, open world, new IP, open world. Just basically have that almost like, I don't know, maybe Avenger style, where they what they do is usually bring in new people just to have a huge game or huge movie.
Yeah.
I think they're really just gonna have to slowly feed,
Cycle through.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
This has been the most interesting month ever because we had spring break and I was able to play so much Elden Ring, but also I'm playing Lego Harry Potter with my partner.
Oh
So
my
it's just
God.
like I go from this huge open world to like this
Just-
game that's just full of nostalgia.
It's just level based. Yeah.
It's so fun to like just see the grand like spectrum of games.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's what's beautiful about Elden Ring. And I think that's the thing that everybody's looking at this and saying, wow, this is a renaissance. I think that it's really showing what games can actually do.
Yeah.
I think FromSoft has some of the best storytelling in terms of non-linearity, in terms of being very discreet about what's really happening, but you're still interested enough to say, whoa, what's that? I think I kind of understand. And I think what they really do well is mixing in the community and the game.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of games really give the community a chance to work together and figure stuff out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's been another cool experience. Is like, I don't really summon often for bosses or anything, but like, I haven't seen such an active Souls world since like probably Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, I'd probably say that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Dark Souls 3 was the one that sold, 10 million copies in its lifetime, and this has sold 12 million.
In 2 weeks.
Yep.
That's crazy.
And
Crazy.
if I'm not mistaken, literally one day after they said 12 million,
It was 13.
yeah. Like, it is completely blown expectations
Yeah.
out of the water.
I think, what was it? Bandai Namco was estimating 4 million.
There's no way. Oh
Yeah,
my
no,
gosh.
yeah, they were expecting 4 million copies.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, and that's the thing that I've been curious about. How did it just succeed so well? What was the marketing that just, was it Jeff Keighley?
Probably just the fact that they left us in the dark for like 2
2
years.
years. Yeah, and then came out at E3 swinging, and it
Yeah.
was...
They went crazy, and
Shout out to that one guy on YouTube who did daily Elden Ring updates for 2 years straight.
Yeah, it was like there's nothing. It's like the Twitter account where it was
The
Bayonetta
Bayonetta
3.
3.
Yeah.
I was like, there is no news, and the day it got revealed, it was like, oh,
there
there's
is
news.
and it showed all the Bayonetta characters freaking out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's stuff like that where I think the community I really have not seen people who enjoy this game have like a weird bad take or anything. It's usually the people who have a frustrating time that I start seeing people saying, oh, this sucks and everything. The people who really enjoy these games, they all work together in such a like harmonious way.
Yeah. Seems like they've been more accepting this time around for new players too.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's nice to know that with such an open world with so many bosses and so many ways to level up, it is the most... It's a weird thing. It can be the hardest
It could be the easiest at the
Soulsborne
same
game,
time.
and it could be the easiest. Exactly. And I don't know how to tell people what to do. I don't know how to say, try Demon Souls first.
Right.
Because...
It's like the easiest one.
But at the same time, try going from Demon Souls, which is the most linear one, literally just level 1, 1, 1, 2, basically.
1, 3.
1, 3, and then tell them, okay, now go into Breath of the Wild Demon Souls.
Right.
Like, it's stuff like that where it's like, you can't compare. It's like saying, go to the NES Mario, and then go to Odyssey.
Play Odyssey.
Play
Yep.
Odyssey. Just have some fun time. It's super welcoming. You're going to look at it and say, there's a control stick.
There's a control. I can move the camera?
It's stuff like that where it's just, you start realizing how drastically different these games are.
Right.
And I guess I don't know where to get at in this point. It's just George R.R. Martin, he made such a big deal about this, I feel like, just because with the fact that he did do Game of Thrones, he helped out with the story. I think that already that name sparked enough, I don't know, interest.
Yeah. Yeah, from people who don't know. Because obviously they put Hidetaka Miyazaki's name on it.
Yeah.
And people, a lot of people, when they hear Miyazaki, they think Studio Ghibli. So they're like, okay, who's that? And then they see George R.R. Martin, and they're like, oh!
Different thing.
Yeah.
I know him from Game of Thrones. Okay.
And then they see the actual, like, medieval set, and you're like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. If you
Yeah.
saw Miyazaki and then saw some medieval stuff, you'd say, that's not Totoro.
I don't know. I don't know what to say other than if you haven't played this game yet,
Do it, please.
you're doing yourself a disservice. This is the kind of game that wakes me up from my years long starvation of just like having a good game, and it's kind of like, oh wow, this is why this is important.
That's
This
why
is a
I like
serotonin
games.
booster.
This is fine dining.
Yes.
In terms of video games, it's
Yes.
one of those things where I think for all of us now. I mean, before I was like, Soulsborne, it's not my thing. Now I'm looking at it like it feels like I've played it for years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even though it's been a few months, it's gotten to the point where I'm like, it feels like Ma's cooking.
Welcome to the family, man.
I
Welcome
know.
to the Souls family.
It feels like you just got back home and you're eating Ma's, chicken
Home
noodle
cooking.
soup,
Yep.
and you're like, this is it. This
Yeah.
is the fine dining that I was looking for.
Hell yeah.
If I had to give the newbies one tip, level vigor, because I've seen too many people complain about how they're getting one shot, and I'm like, you have 20 vigor. Of course they're getting one shot.
Speaking of that, why don't we, Michael and I, say our tips for newcomers?
Sounds good. You go first. I gotta think.
Well, taking that I have beaten the game, I've seen a lot of people say I've beaten the game in 50 hours, stuff like that. They've beaten everything. They've gotten the platinum trophy, and a lot of those people on Twitter are also saying, I know someone who's completed it that short of time, and when I'm going through, I don't know, the Limgrave, they'll see a cave and say, man, I never explored that.
Yeah.
Explore.
Right.
To all the newcomers, just take in and soak up what the environment is, because I think you'll really appreciate some of the different storylines that are you might miss completely. I know there are NPCs now to this day that I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing, and I do regret that in a certain way, that I never knew this NPC existed. I think that there's a joy in it going through my second playthrough and saying I have never met that NPC, and that's beautiful. But if you're going through 10 kajillion playthroughs and you still have not seen a cave, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
Go through those games. If you want to do a second playthrough, find stuff that you haven't found before. Really have a good time with this game and really explore what these developers have spent a good possible 6 years working on.
Right. Yeah. My tip is just like any Souls game. If the enemy is your size, the size of your character, it's normally harder than the ones that are a lot bigger than you.
Yeah. There's a philosophy I follow where if it's like big, like if it's a giant enemy, you just stick to its behind and you just keep hitting that.
And never stay in the front.
Yeah,
You
and
always
then-
stick in the back.
Yeah, but with human enemies, they can just turn on a dime.
Right.
They're always facing you, and you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Again, for all newcomers, there is going to be a boss that is optional, that is human-sized, and is possibly the hardest boss
In the series.
in Soulsborne, like, ever. And if you do not want to fight that,
It's
you
optional.
do not have to. The only reason you'd ever fight that one boss is for the trophy, and that is it.
And it's impressive, frankly, if you even get down there.
Even then, I think the only other reason that you'd be fighting this boss is because if you choose the bad ending, there's a certain, and spoiler warning, there's a certain burn that you get on your body that puts you directly towards that bad ending. And you cannot do the good ending. At that point, that's it. You're permanently bad ending. Unless you fight that optional boss. Then you get that stuff unburned.
Yeah, you get an item that lets you reverse it.
And do the good ending. That's the only way. And even then, the bad ending, I would be surprised if you accidentally did that, because it is hard to find. Even I was looking through and I was like, oh, I'm minding my own business, beat this boss. And then I found a secret area and I was like,
Oh.
I feel like I just found something that nobody on planet Earth has ever found. And then I found messages and I was like, never mind.
That's awesome. How do you guys end podcasts again?
We usually do the random game of the
Oh,
week,
But
but
no point.
no point. Play Elden Ring.
Yes.
Get Elden Ring. This is probably. It's funny because it's March, only March of this year, and I can already see the Game Awards are going to be completely
Just
flooded.
swept by.
That's it. This is The Last of Us Part 2 of 2022.
It's gonna be like Lord of the Rings, Return of the King at the Oscars, just
Oh
a
my
full
gosh.
sweep.
Just
Yep.
full sweep.
Yep.
And to that, I just say, everybody just
Just play Elden
play
Ring.
Elden Ring, play a Soulsborne. If you haven't had any good luck with it, try doing a walkthrough. There's no shame in it at all. A lot of people think that you have to do this by yourself.
Don't listen to the people who call you a noob for like using powerful strategies
Or
Just-
magic, anything like that.
Yeah.
No gatekeeping in this community.
Yeah,
Just do what
you
want,
have to.
because this lore is fantastic. The lore in every game is incredible, and
The
just there's an experience to it all. And I think that everybody should at some point experience it.
For sure.
Right.
I think with that being said, I think that's the end of this. So
Yep.
see ya, everybody. We'll see you in the coming weeks.
Yep, eventually.
Bye.
At some
Bye.
point. Bye.